Hey, you're listening to Your Worst Song, and this episode is short and sweet. I have the great blues rock Toronto band Propter Hawk. They very graciously, two of the members, joined me on their lunch break at work. Capital W, work, work, work. Work, 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 work. And we talked about, we blazed through the questions. You're still going to hear answers to all of them. And I think maybe because of the shortness and sweetness, it'll make you even more interested than normal to go check out their music. Speaking of which, the worst song might take the record for shortest song. And this is hot off the heels of the record for longest song. This is Your Worst Song, and I'm Alex Southey. Trying to do as much promotion for that as possible, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Like in this day and age, I'm sure you've talked about this on your podcast, but like the balance between how far do you get with actual gigging and how far do you get with actually just like releasing music, right?
Yes, and it's probably a balance, but the balance seems like you never can find the right balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mal, how's it going? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Sorry
Thank you.
for my tardiness.
No.
I was having some technical difficulties.
And it also looks like you're actually like at work kind of thing.
I am. So.
Yes, capital W. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for both you guys for coming on. I guess we can start, and I know we only have you for a smaller amount of time, but why don't you guys talk a bit about Propter Hawk? Like, when did the band begin? When did the band begin?
I guess I can take this one. So
Sure.
we started, I guess you could say we started in 2020.
Okay.
We're sort of a group that came out of the pandemic. We had connected prior to 2020, but very minimally. We had only really sort of started rehearsing stuff. And then obviously when COVID happened, it was a little bit of a roadblock. We couldn't actually play any live shows until like a couple years into us being a group. So it was a little bit of an odd progression.
Yeah, that's very odd.
Where we are now. But yeah, so I would say 2020 would be like the more or less official start date of Propter Hawk.
Okay, right. But then you really didn't like take off live until 2022, probably, right? It takes a few years to, where things come back around 2022, maybe, or 2020, late 2022. Yeah. Okay. Well, and how would you guys describe? I would describe your sound certainly as having like, a hard rock or blues rock lean, but I'm so curious how you guys think of it.
I mean, sorry, Alec, go for it.
Yeah, either of you guys.
I think it's definitely like blues rock, but I think we have like 5 people throwing their influence into the mix, and so there's some quirky elements, and try and talk a little bit about like modern themes, and so just kind of like bringing that rock and roll into the today's day and age, if you will.
And what about you, Mal? You agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that for sure.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's certainly the blues rock sound that we kind of know, but then you're adding this modernity to it, I guess. But yeah, no, you're completely right. I was having fun listening to the most recent full album you guys released and just seeing sort of, it's almost like blues rock, but also you put modern ideas of production on it as well, which I find really interesting and I thought worked really well for it. How was it doing stuff live then after so long of just like it gestating just you guys rehearsing, and was it weird?
Yeah, it was very
I believe it would be super weird. I'm trying to think about like
Al kind of said like we did things in actually like the reverse order, like
right.
She was alluding to like because of the nature of the pandemic, we actually like recorded our first album before we even played a single show.
That's so bizarre.
In one respect, it kind of helped us because we had no other choice other than to like be in a basement together and work on the songs over and over and over and over and over again and make them as great as they could. And then coming out of that, when we were then actually able to perform, it was interesting because we already had like a little bit of a body of work to kind of fall on. And then it was, again, going in that reverse order, like already having the album, but then going through the process of learning how to be an actual gigging band.
Yeah, and
really
probably,
weird.
I would probably have fallen into the trap of, oh, well, it's the pandemic. I'm gonna friggin' load as much excess stuff on this recording as and not worry about how it's going to translate live. You know what I mean? Like if there's 4 guitars, I'm not even thinking about how I would have 4 guitarists in the band to actually make that happen. But the other thing I was thinking was you probably appeared far tighter as a live band immediately than maybe you would have expected from a band that had to grow up in practice in public, essentially. Do you guys find that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so for sure. However, it's a little bit odd for me because this is actually like my first real official band. So prior to Propter Hawk, I had never played a live show. So I
Whoa.
can't really say with certainty if,
Sure.
how it would have compared. But I would imagine that having that time, in the studio and just working through all of the songs, I can't see that being a disadvantage. I feel like that certainly helped us.
Exactly.
But that was sort of another anomaly in our group in that the lead singer had never really explored this before.
Well, yeah, that leads me to a bunch of questions I didn't know I had because that's really interesting. Like, so are you still a singer?
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed singing. I was more so, I looked for a band many years ago, just wanting to see what was out there, try things out, meet people, put some ads on Kijiji.
Sure.
Nice people, but it didn't really translate into anything. So this was like the first real group that like I saw an opportunity to really push and go with.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, over the years I've continued singing mostly karaoke,
Sure.
in the professional, so to speak, realm.
Okay.
But yeah, it's always been something that I've enjoyed and wanted to do. And so doing it now is like amazing. And I'm so grateful that it fell into place and that I'm able to do it because it is really something special that I enjoy.
Well, how did it fall into place? Was it through Kijiji or was it through just meeting friends or yeah, Kijiji?
Pretty much. So Andrew and I, my husband, Andrew.
Yeah.
So he was one of the original members of Propter Hawk, and him and I kind of started it just like writing songs together in our basement. And then we wanted to expand the group. We initially were looking for a bass player. But then we found Alec on Kijiji, and Alec was so good. He showed up and played guitar, and we were like, what the fuck? This guy's so good. We need him in our group.
Right.
So we were like, okay, we're going to have 2 guitarists. And then he knew Brian. Brian was one of his. So he brought Brian into the group as our bass player. So you could say, I guess, yeah, it kind of half formed from Kijiji.
That's wild. This is a walking Kijiji ad. That's crazy. I feel like you used to hear about stories like that where it's like, oh, we went to the local pub and put up a bulletin or something. This is like a newer version of it's the Pixies met that way, I think actually. Somebody put out an ad. It's like if you like this and this and this, like call this number, and it was either the main woman in it or the main man calling the other one. I forget, but
I'm gonna have to Google this after.
Yeah. And what were you gonna say, Alec?
I was going to say, yeah, it's kind of a web of Kijiji because I had known Brian previously and had been in a couple other bands with him. And he wasn't even really a bass player. He was just a good musician and a good singer. And we needed to fill that hole. And he just kind of like, jumped into it. And as Mal said, like, They weren't even looking for a bass player, and I was already in another band at the time, and I was just kind of looking for something else, just jump into like a new group.
Wow.
And ironically, that other band completely folded, and this one is completely taken off. So
Yeah. Well,
good call.
speaking of that, then maybe let's get into the questions. So, speaking of taking off, what do you think was your best gig thus far? If you can think of one. I know that's tough.
Ooh.
Yeah. By best meaning anything.
Alec,
Like, yeah.
I
It's
feel
hard
like I've
I feel like
yammered on, so I will let you.
I think we've had a couple of really killer shows at the Dakota. We always have a really good time there, and we had another great show at the Rivoli that was a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for some reason I always picture you guys at the Dakota Tavern. Maybe I just happened to see you a few times there, but that's where sort of I picture you. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's where Propter Hawk lives. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little more suited to you guys than a few other places. It has that blues leaning kind of thing.
It's got our vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got your vibe, exactly. And so what about you? Any shows like immediately come to mind?
Honestly, I'm on the same page as Alec for sure. Like I love the Dakota Tavern. It's just got such a great vibe. We just always seem to have a really great performance there, and just it always ends up being a really great night. So yeah, we've had a few shows there that were just amazing. Rivoli was also a really fantastic show. We've only played there once, so I'm excited to be playing there again.
That's already established. You're going to be playing there. So what's the date?
Yes. So we are playing the Rivoli actually on Friday, August 9th. So
Oh, okay. Right. Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. This will be out tomorrow, Thursday. So people
Perfect.
listening, go to
Perfect
this.
timing. Yes,
Yeah.
please go. And there's going to be horns. So it's going to be,
Ooh, really?
yes.
That's cool. Damn.
It's
How
something
many?
we've never done before. So,
That totally suits what you guys do. That. What kind of horns? I'm curious.
Alec?
it's a section. Really exciting for us because we had horns on when we recorded the album, and so this will be our first time like actually playing with like a 3-piece horn section, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it.
That's cool. That's very the band, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So wow, sweet. Okay. So then go in the opposite way. Do any terrible gigs stand out for you? Any just like that for sure, that one?
Oh, Mal, I know you have this question.
I'd love to hear this.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of which one are you leading to, Alex?
I was leaning towards London.
Oh yeah, that was not the finest hour of my
Oh no.
time. Yeah, it wasn't so much that the show itself was bad. It's just that there were some issues with scheduling, and we drove really far to get there. And
Oh no.
so it just ended up being a really like late night, and half of us were really sick. So it just, I don't know, the vibe,
The vibes were bad. Yeah.
The vibe.
so to speak. But yeah, and then we've played a couple of shows too, like in the very early days, you're playing to kind of empty rooms, right? Like there's not a ton of people in the crowd, which is a little
disheartening.
bit interesting. Yeah. And I mean, it's still a great time, and like I appreciate the people that do show up, but I think you can definitely feed off of the energy of a crowd.
Yes.
So I always like to be able to play to a fuller group if we can. But for the most part now, fortunately, we're that we seem to get a good number of people out. So that's nice.
It seems like it. Yeah, I agree. So the London one, it sounds like it was sort of everything around the performance. It wasn't necessarily the performance. Like if you were sick, you obviously didn't feel good during the performance, but generally it wasn't like somebody super fucked up a song or something. It was everything around it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We went and did our thing to the best of our abilities with the tools at our disposal that night. Just everything else was not a good time.
Okay, but it sounded like you guys were between two. So that's one. And what's another one? Two stories. I don't normally ask for two stories, but it seemed like you guys were debating, so I figured, hey, why not?
Well, I mean, I would probably say, and Alec, feel free to jump in here, but I would probably say, yeah, like one of those earlier shows where, there was one place that we played, we were actually supposed to do a double set.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was like our fourth show or something like that. And I don't really know what the thought process was behind the double set. Like if we were just going to like play one and then like take a 15-minute break and then anyway.
Right.
We didn't end up playing two sets.
No.
We played the one and we were kind of just like, oh yeah, I don't know that there's really a desire for us to, continue. There weren't too many people in the bar and they seemed to be interested in other things, to be fair. So I was like, I don't know that they just want to hear us repeat the exact
Right. Yes, exactly.
again.
That's a very
Yeah.
I think there were maybe people there, and I also believe the waitress came up and told us to turn down.
That's what I forgot about that. She did twice. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all. You're like, oh no.
Well, we spoke about the good things about starting during the pandemic, but I would say that's a bad thing. People had almost like reacclimate to live music and having that be around. I can't believe they came up to you and told you to turn it down though. Like, was this a place that didn't normally have live music or it was a consistent, like always live music? And why would they ever worried about that?
I would say consistent live
music. Live music for sure.
Like you don't need to say the place, but was it at least a bar where it's like multiple days of the week there's a live performance or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Let's
they have a stage. Okay.
They have a stage, so they're toward.
Okay, gotcha. Wow. I'm the only thing that I'll ask for a follow-up is, was this a place in Toronto or not in Toronto?
A place in Toronto.
Okay, interesting. All right, I'll leave it there, but that's interesting. All right. Well, let's get back to positive things. What do you guys think is your best song? Because this is your worst song, right? I like to sort of go up here and then Cliff. So, yeah, what do you guys think was your best thus far?
Alec?
Mal? It's hard to pick one, but I think like Theater of the World and Telephone are right up there with our best stuff. One's kind of like a theater, kind of being like a cheeky kind of the band Bob Dylan-y kind of thing with really interesting lyrics, and Telephone being kind of a bit more like Saturday night kind of rock and roll tune. And I think there's lots of great stuff in there.
Okay, I like that answer. It shows off sort of the broad spectrum of what you can do. Mal, what do you think? Same thing?
Yeah, I definitely think theater is, Telephone and Theater, great songs. Those were both singles for us too. So like, we love those. Another one for me that I just have always loved is Sleeper Creeper.
Great title.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know, just the horns on it. And even just like when that song was written, it was one of the songs that I was like, I don't know, I really feel this one. Like I really, really like this one. So that's another favorite for me. That's just kind of always up there, but it's a little bit of an odd one to say.
Sure. Sometimes that makes it the best though. Like it's
right.
The ones that you made singles are singles for a reason. They're probably hooky. They're catchy. You think they have the best chance at being broadly appealing. But then there are these other ones that you wrote for the album because you wanted to write it. It doesn't matter if it's a little out there,
I think Sleeper Creeper is an interesting one because it kind of has everything there that kind of is Propter Hawk. It's got like some kind of bizarre lyrics with like kind of like Stonesy kind of rhythm, but then there's some kind of Beatle-y elements in there, and we managed to work as well. So there's a lot going on there, a lot of cool stuff.
So if the horns are such a prominent, it sounds like, prominent part of the personality of that song, is it going to feature prominently in Friday's show?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay. That makes me hyped.
Well, is come and find out.
Yeah, right. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Okay. All right. Then just in the interest of time, what is the worst song? We got 6 minutes. We can pick it apart.
Okay. I actually have for that.
You go.
weaving my way out of the question slightly with smart aleck answer, but I'm actually going to say our song Summer Girl, because the intent of that was to make it sound shitty and low quality as possible. And I think we achieved.
So, and can you elaborate a little bit more? Do you purely mean production? Do you mean like, I don't give a fuck about songwriting either, this is all garbage? Or what do you mean?
Well, in one respect, both, because it's really just a teaser song. How long would it be, Mal? 45 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, it's got to be like less
And
than.
it's kind of meant to be like a little kind of like breath of fresh air before you move on to like other parts of the album. And we recorded it through a couple different mics, one through an actual mic, but also through a tape recorder that was hooked up to the board to give it like a low quality kind of vibe.
Cool.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome. But I love when songs do that, where it's 45 minutes, it's a minute and a half, and it's like a palate cleanser because of either maybe you've decided as the people making the album, it's been too much of one thing close to this period, so you got to cut it and then start anew. It's almost like we don't have the benefit of the flipping of the record over, which gave those albums their own real pause. You know, you could almost make an ending song as your fourth song, so that you'd flip it over and then it would sort of, right. So that's so interesting that that's something you're doing, because I think especially for a blues rock band, there aren't that many bands, when you think of the famous ones, that also get weird with stuff like that. They usually stick to, the potatoes of it all, as good as the potatoes are sometimes. But it sounds like you guys are throwing in these slightly more album experiential things.
Yeah, we're trying to just switch it up a bit, take the traditional and put our own spin on it.
Exactly. Well, would you play the 45-second? Would you play a version of it live ever?
I mean, I'll never say never.
You should do it for sound check. It's 45 seconds. That's
true. Test it out. Yeah.
Exactly.
You never know.
Okay. But it sounds like, do you agree, Mel? That's a good contender for worst song, air quotes?
Yes, I think based on the criteria that Alex defined, where we kind of tried to make it sort of lo-fi and shitty-ish. I would say yes. I would agree.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, that's so funny. The interview that I just recorded before this, their song is a cover of somebody else's song, which is also a cheeky answer for worst song. But they made it like 15 minutes. So at the end of that episode, it's going to be a 15-minute song, but then I'm going to have your episode. It's going to be 45 seconds, which is hilarious. Yeah. Is there anything else? Oh, what was the thing? I meant to bring up one thing. You had a song played on the Leafs hockey night in Canada, right?
Yes, Telephone.
Talk about that a little, just briefly. That's so cool. Everybody listening, I'm sure, is familiar. Even if they don't watch hockey, they know what hockey night in Canada is.
That was so cool. That was I was blown away by that for sure. It was like one of the best moments ever.
Yeah, and it was like sort of, was it right after the release of the record? Yeah, right? It was like part of promotion almost.
The single Telephone came out, and then I think it was a couple days later we were contacted and they asked if they could use it. And obviously we were super excited.
Yeah.
I've been watching Hockey Night in Canada my entire life, and so it was really cool to see that. The funny thing is that we had like a listening party, if you will, a band listening party that night, and we watched like, I don't know, 6 hours of Hockey Night in Canada, and we never heard it.
No. What?
The only time we actually heard it was people sending us like video and stuff. But the nice thing was they used it as a bumper for like highlights and stuff for
that's cool.
For a couple weeks, so we did get the chance to actually see it and have people send us video and that kind of thing. So it's really exciting.
That's pretty sweet. That's very cool. I feel like that's almost even cooler than hearing it on the radio in a weird way.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on and talking about it, especially on your breaks. That's incredibly nice.
Thank you for having us. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Would you guys like to just reintroduce yourselves, and then one of you can talk us out and just say, we're Propter Hawk. This is the name of the song. There you go.
Sure.
Take it away.
Am I saying, okay, the name of the song? Am I picking
Just-
the worst
just-
song?
Yes, the worst song. That's right.
Okay. All right.
Let's Rivoli plug.
And
Eh.
Rivoli. Okay. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Mallory from Propter Hawk. You're about to hear Summer Girl from our debut album. And we hope you'll come check us out at the Rivoli on Friday, August the 9th. There's going to be a live horn section, and we hope to see you there.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
I want you back.